Hi there, Cole. Hope you're having a great day today. So, video lesson, 5 things I want to talk about. I'll go down the list. If you have questions at the end, when you look at anything, have your mom or dad shoot me over a message. Cool, let's get to it. So, first thing, how book? Much better, much better. You practiced it. I like that. Very good. So with something like this, with note reading especially, I don't practice left to right. What I mean is, I don't play the song, sit down, and just like play the song like over and over again on repeat. I don't do that. What actually I do is I practice the seams, the transition from one part to the next. You can see that the first little bit, what do we have here? And then the texture changes. Right, so what I would actually practice is like the last measure of the first line going into the first measure of the second line. So I would practice something like this. Right, so like that's a spot where mistakes happen frequently when I'm working with students. So I would actually practice the transition from first line into second line. That's what I would do there. And then I would never ever just like play the song on repeat. I would go, okay, if I'm having trouble playing this part right here, I would just isolate that. So I would like put like a bracket around it. And that way I know just to practice. Right? That's how I would approach learning riffing. As they get longer and longer, playing them on loop doesn't work very well. When they get like multi-page long, you're not going to want to loop that stuff. It'd be so inefficient to practice that way. You would spend all day on trying to practice something that should only take you just a few minutes. So awesome. So do that for me right there. Number 2. E minor triplet exercise, E minor pentatonic triplet exercise, that is. Very nice, much better, much better. You're much more confident in where the notes are, I could say. What I would do is do a set amount of them, right? So I wouldn't just do this. Say if I'm in box 2 right there, just like daydreaming, kind of just do that right there. I would do I'm gonna do 2 slow and then 2 fast. Right? That's how I practice it. Okay, I'm going to do 2 slow, 2 fast. A set a number of number of times I do that particular box, and then I would do it slow and then burst into a faster one. Then I would practice transitioning between 2 of them. Clean transitions. Right? Because otherwise you're just kind of like guesswork, you're just like jumping out. It's like jumping into the great unknown. You don't know which fret you're probably going to land on, but you cross your fingers, you're hoping to land on the right one. So practicing going. Looking where you're going is always good to do. And then using a backing track in E minor to practice this stuff. They're just exercises really when it comes down to it, but if you play with backing tracks, you start getting into that lead shreddy kind of that Steve Vai stuff, or like those guitar heroes, like Sean Lane, like Pliny, Tosin Abasi, that's what they do, is they're guitar shredders and they're virtuosos, but they always practice like the technique first. So like the actual technique is usually practicing, okay, and then practice transition. And then you take that and put it into an actual musical example. In your case, an E minor backing track would fit perfect. So if I pull that up here, let's see here. And any of them are fine. Let's pull, this one looks good. I don't know what this one's gonna sound like. If it sucks, I'll change it. Hear that? Right? So it acts as like a metronome keeping you in time, because sometimes we have a tendency to speed or slow down. So this would be a great way of practicing, making sure you can play like with the recording. And later on you can do stuff like this. You turn on distortion, so do it clean and distortion. So that way you get a chance to practice handling what the overdrive is going to sound like. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and right. Right? So I was able to do that because I practiced with backing tracks and with a metronome, making sure I did slow, practice to transition to the next thing, and making sure that was clean. So I just didn't jump out here into space and pray if I land in the right spot. I did it slowly. So that's how I learned how to do that. Next thing is box three hammer-ons. Much better. And you got the box themes right. Congratulations. Now, I would like them to be more secure in your mind as to which one's which. I think you knew, but you had to think for a second. I want you to know absolutely sure, like that right there. If my teacher was sitting in front of you and quizzed you, he'd be like, come on, go, 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 go. I'm a big old softy. He was always like, come on, go, go, what's the next thing, what's the next thing, what's the next thing? Or what's the name of the box, what's the name of the box? He put a whole lot of pressure with being able to name things rapidly. So good on that. So just say to yourself as you're playing them, box 5, box 1. Know where the E's are. Those are the best landing spots. In this situation right now, later on, which will change with the landing spots. But first things first, you have to know where all the E's are. So good work on that right there. Let's see here. Next thing is NIB. Thank you for playing it for me. You're lucky I got busy earlier in this week. Otherwise, I would have texted your mother and found out where that video was. So you sent it to me. It's fine. Summertime. During school year, I may be more strict about that. Practice the transitions out of time. That's a huge thing that I do in my practice. I don't just sit in my room, in my office at home, and just like run tunes. I do not do that. I do at the end of my practice, I'll do like a playthrough of what I just worked on, but I never ever just sit there and just like play song after song after song. I really work on like what is wrong with what I'm doing and how do I fix it. So for you, what I would practice is taking the chord changes out of time. What it means is playing it without just playing this. So not playing this. Oh, good trill by the way. The trill was good, and so is the double stop. Those are looking really nice. Oh, I'll talk more about that in a second. So I would really practice this. That one especially. You have a tendency to kind of like go to like 14.5 fret, and then you kind of like shift your fingers over this way. Clean shift out of time. Shift, shift. And practice that. The more you practice little details, the faster you'll actually get at learning this thing and getting to where you want to be ultimately, if there is an end. I haven't found it yet. But practice the seams. That's kind of like the theme for today is don't just play the riff, but practice the transition from one thing to the next slowly and out of time. Then you speed it up. But I like how you did that in the E minor triplet pattern. So I can tell you you're starting to think how to practice more efficiently, which I like. What else do we have in here? So maybe you practice it just as out of time, clean the shift, and then yeah. So the riff and the bend. So you have this. Practice that. You don't need to practice it other than that little shift up here. You don't need to practice that all the time. Practice power chord, bend. You did a great job down here. That was nice when you did that. It was in time, and obviously we can polish up the bend just a little bit more, but you got it in time, which is great. So I can tell you practice that. Same thing there too. Practice the bends by themselves. Don't just play the riff, but actually sit there and practice just doing bends. And then, it's like the difference between practicing and playing. Practicing is when you're working on a problem. Playing is when you're running what you just practiced. Right? Like I said, nice job on the double stop. I liked it. We'll talk about that more in a second. Other thing is the pull off clarity. I should hear both notes. Sometimes I heard this. It's very kind of weak. So this week, do pull off practice with box 3. So that I may practice this at a time. Right? And then practice with distortion and practice with the recording. So see if you can play along with Tony Iommi and see how far you can get. I think we have pretty much every riff in the song. There might be like one or two, maybe the solo. I think he just plays the rhythm part over the solo. But practice with recording. Number 5 is the next thing in our quest. So open power chords. This is going to continue on talking about the little half bars, little mini bars, till we get to the full bar later on. So first one is a G5 power chord. These are still power chords. Like that's a G5 power chord all day long, right? This is a G5 power chord all day long. But people like Angus Young will play power chords open like this. Okay, it's still a power chord. It's just what I call an open power chord. So instead of sounding like this, right? Much more full, much more bright. I kick this down here, turn that up. The only difference between a G and a G5, I tapped it out here, I wrote the chord diagram out for you, but you just take your first finger off. Right? G5, A5, you do a little mini bar, kind of like what you do up here with the double stop. It's going to be here in strings 4 and 3. Remember, you're pointing at yourself, right? Get your pyramid finger, pointing at yourself. Hit strings 5, 4, 3. Do a clean tone, do it distorted. E5, same thing, except for you move up a string, 6, 5, 4. D5, it's like a D chord, except for you take your middle finger off and mute the first string with the flesh of your ring finger. And where do you use these is this song, if I remember it. So practice those chords right there because we use them in Highway to Hell. Highway to Hell is nice because it has a first finger stretch right here, which will strengthen up your barring finger. That's a great song and a great exercise for developing bar chords. So awesome. So practice those things for me. If you have questions, like I said, have your mom or dad shoot me over a message. If not, I will see you same time next time. Take care.